Hi class, welcome to the exam number 4 review. And for this video, we're going to talk about 4 problems. So we're going to break into the several videos so you won't be able to overwhelmed by that. Okay, so the first problem here is want to find the domain of those functions, right? So do you remember when we talk about the domains here, in general, it is like, so it is the whole real number. The two things we need to consider, do you remember that? The two things we need to exclude from the domains here, right? So we need to exclude from the domains what? The denominator. If the denominator is equal to 0, we want to find all the values for the denominator equal to 0 and exclude that. Or what is here, the roots, right? The square roots. Okay, so the inside square roots is less than 0, right? Because we know I cannot have a negative number. So those are the two things we want to exclude from the real numbers. Okay, so now if you remember, so this is kind of like our rules in general is the whole real numbers, but if you every time if you see a fractions, then you need to think about that. If every time you see a square roots, you need to think about that, right? Okay, so now let's take a look at the part A for these problems here. The part A, f of x is equal to square roots of the 4 minus x is here. So we said the domain could be the real number except it's equal less than 0. So I want to find what is the 4 minus x greater than equal to 0, right? So that's all the domain will satisfy. So you plus x both sides. So you will have a 4 greater than equal to x. That means the domains here is for all the value of the x is less than equal to 4, right? Or you can write these ones here from the negative infinity to 4, and this is a bracket because why is a bracket here? Because I have equal signs here, all right? Okay, so now next part here. So the next part here is f of x is equal to 1 over 4 minus x squared here. So we said in general, it will be the whole real number, but the denominator cannot be equal to 0, right? So we say, okay, 4 minus x squared equal to 0. Let's see what is that. So it's 4 is equal to x squared, right? Then you take the square roots both sides. So the x can be equal to the positive 4, positive 2, or x is equal to the negative 2. That means your domain can be everything except 2 and the negative 2s, right? So in here, this is negative 2 and this is 2s, right? So your domain can be anything, the real number, except these two, right? So the way we write it will be the negative infinity to negative 2, then union negative 2 to 2, then union 2 to infinity, right? So this will be the domains here. Okay, so now the C is here. The C is f of x is equal to the 4x minus 5. So for these ones here, this is just an absolute function, right? This is an absolute value function, which does not have a square root, does not have a fraction. So this part is pretty easy. So the domains here will just be what? The whole real numbers, right? Or you can write it is from the negative infinity to the positive infinities, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, now let's take a look at part D here. The part D is here. They tell you f of x is equal to x squared minus 5x minus 24. Right? So, okay, so you, as soon as you see a fractions, right? So that means as soon as you see square roots, you know the domain has to be greater than 0 inside the square roots, right? So you will say x squared minus 5x minus 24 has to be greater than or equal to 0 in order to be inside the square roots, right? Now, how do you do that? Do you remember? You factor it, right? So you say this is so this is the x minus 8, x plus 5. No, x minus 8, x minus plus 3, right? Greater than 0. So if you remember that, we set this equal to 0, try to find the value of the x. So x equal to 8. Then we say this is x plus 3 equal to 0. Then we can say x equal to the negative 3, right? So we kind of did this before in the previous section. So this is negative 3 and this is negative 8. So we said you choose any number and decide is a positive or negative. So if you choose anything less than negative 3, so you have negative, negative. So it will give you what? Negative, negative. So the end result will give you positive. Now, if you choose anything in between here, so let's say it's zeros here, you will get a negative or positive. So the overall result, you will get a negative. Then choose anything in here, like 9, you will get a positive, right? So overall result, you will get a positive. And since you want these things here, the whole thing is greater than 0. So this is the interval I want, and this is the interval I want, right? So now how do you write it? So you say the domains here is going to be the negative infinity to negative 3. Then this is bracket because I have equal signs here. Then union the bracket a to what? A to the positive infinities, right? Okay, so that's the problem number 1 here. So it's a pretty easy problem here, right? So make sure you know how to do the domain, right? So the key things here is like, the domain in general is a real number, but if you have these two things, you want to exclude that. Okay, then problem number 2 here. I want to find the value of the function. Okay, so this is not example. So this is the problem number 2 here. Okay, so the problem number 2 here, the part A. So it said f of x is equal to 3x squared minus 4x plus 1. And you want to find the f of negative 1 here. So what do we mean? Do you remember we talked about that means every x you need to become negative 1s, right? So be careful here. So you need to be careful about parentheses. So x equal to negative 1. So it's negative 1 to the square minus 4, the negative 1 plus 1. So the negative 1 to the square is a positive 1 times 3. Negative and negatives here, negative and negative here become positive 4 plus 1. So it's 8, right? Okay, so now let's take a look at the part B here. So the part B here, the f of x is what? F of x is x squared plus 4, right? So we want to find the f of t plus 1. You say, oh boy, what is t plus 1? Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever is in here, you plug into your x's here. So that means this is the t plus 1 to the square plus 4. That's it, right? So it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so part C is here. So this is f of x is equal to 4x minus 7. Now you want to find the f of 1. So what do we do here? You just plug the 1 into the x's, right? Just like we did many times here. Whatever you have x, you plug the 1 into it. So this will be 4 times 1 minus 7. So this is negative 3, right? But this is the absolute value. So what is your final answer? Final answer is 3. Okay. It's pretty straightforward, right? Okay, so number 3, we want to find the even, odd, or neither. So before we do this, let's do a brief review to see or kind of refresh your memory. How do we do the even or odd, right? So for the evens here, we will say the f of negative x is equal to the f of x. Right? So for checking the odd here, we also start with f of the negative x. And if this is equal to the negative f of x, then we say it's odd, right? So this is the formula we use here. Okay, so now let's try here. Okay, number 8, so part A is here. F of x equal to 5x. Okay. So remember, we always start with negative. So this is f of negative x. So remember what is f of negative x means? That means you substitute x with negative x, right? So this is 5, the negative x. Okay, then move the negative 1 is negative 5x. What is this one here? This is f of x, right? So that's why this one is equal to the negative f of x. So if f of negative x equal to negative of x, what type of functions? Odd, right? So this is odd functions here. Okay, so now let's take a look at the b's here. The b, this is f of x is equal to the x squared plus 4. Remember, always start with f of negative x. That means you replace x with negative x. So it's negative x squared plus 4. Right? So the negative x squared, so negative square is positive. So this will become x squared plus 4. Oh, look exactly the same like f of x. So when the f of negative x equal to the f of x, what type of function here? We have even functions, right? Pretty cool. Okay, now let's take a look at C. Right, so C here, this is f of x is equal to the x minus 3. Right, like we talk about, it's always start with negative x here. That means you replace everything with negatives, right? So you replace negative x to the x here, right? So in here, this will be the negative x minus 3. So you can take a look at this is a factor negative 1 out. So this is x plus 3. Well, but the negative in the absolute value doesn't matter, right? So this one here is give you what? Just equal to the x plus 3. All right, so you know the x plus 3 is not equal to f of x, is not equal to the negative f of x. So what type of the function is this one? It's neither, or neither. So it's not the even, it's not the odd here, right? Okay, now let's take a look at part D here. The part D here, this is f of x equal to the e to the x squared. Okay, so don't get scared about like those numbers here. You always start with negative x. That means you replace everything to the x with negative x. So it's negative x squared. Now I know negative square is positive. So the top becomes e to the x squared. Oh, what is this equal to? Equal to f of x. Right, so this one is even functions here. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so now let's take a look at part E here. Okay, the part is here, this is f of x equal to the negative 2 x to the cube. Okay, so now you will say, like always, start with negative x. Okay, so remember that you replace your x with negative x here. So this is a negative 2, and this is a negative x to the how many cube? The cube, right? So this is negative 2. Okay, so the negative to the cube root, cube, cube, so it will still give you negative. Then here's x cube. So negative times negative will give you what? Positive 2 to the x cube. What is this one? This will be, this is a positive, this is negative 2x cubed, right? So what is inside here? Inside here, this is f of x. So the f of negative x become negative f of x. So what type of the function is this one here? This one is what? This one is odd, right? Okay, so to remember, so that's what the problem number 4 is here. Okay, let's do one more problem for this video, so you'll be able to kind of prepare this. So this is a problem number 4 here. Okay, so we have the polynomials here, right? So f of x negative x cubed plus 2x squared minus x plus 3. Okay, so first things here, we said the degree. Okay, so let's try to remember what is the degree mean. Degree is the highest exponents, right? Let's do the a and the b together. We can do that so that they ask the same questions here. So this is f of x is equal to 3x fourths minus 2x plus 7. Okay, the first question they all ask for the degree. Okay, so remember the degree is the highest exponents, correct? Okay, so the highest exponents for here is 3. The highest exponents here is 4. So the degrees for the polynomial in part A is 3, and the degrees for the polynomial in part B is 4. Okay, so no questions, right? So it's straightforward. At least how many terms? So this is at least number of terms. Okay, remember we said at least term. That means, the at least, that means that you can have more, right? So at least how many terms? So here should be the at most, I think. Okay, so this is the type arrows here. So at most, right? So this one should be at most number of the terms here. So change that. So this is the at most. You can not have more than that, right? So it's n minus 1 terms here, right? So here, this is 2. At most the term is n minus 1, right? So here, this is the degrees of the 4, right? So degrees of the 4, so at least, at most, you can have only 3 terms. You cannot have more than 4 terms here, right? Okay, good. And then the next one here is the leading coefficient. So the leading coefficients here. Okay, so remember the leading coefficient is the constant. It's the constant at, the related to your highest degrees. So this one is my leading coefficients, right? So it's what? It's -1. So what is the leading coefficient for the part B's polynomial? Is the constants in front of the highest polynomial. So this is 3 here. Okay, so now the next thing is here, right hand goes up or goes down, right? Okay, so here, so this is right hand. This is left hand. This is right hand. This is left hand. So remember, in our notes, we said if it's even power, right? So we said in the notes, let's do a little refresh here. So let's kind of review. So if you don't remember, we say if it's even degree. So if your polynomial is even degrees, your graph is either go both up or both down, right? And then if it's odd degree, so you should be one go up and other go down, or another go up and other go down, right? So depend on what is your leading coefficients, right? So this one's here, the leading coefficient will be greater than 0. This is an less than 0. And this is an greater than 0. This is an less than 0, right? So that's what we did when we talk about the polynomial. So if you don't remember, you need to go back to review this, right? So in here we said, okay, so because, because this one is odd degrees, right? So its degree is 3. Then you have negative. So I know my left hand will going to what? Going up. Then my right hand going to go what? Go down here, right? And then for here, for part B's polynomial is even degree and the leading coefficient is 3. So it's a positive. So that means both ends are going to go up. So the right end go up, left end go up. Right? So that's it. So the first full problems is not too difficult, right? So to make sure you know how to do this and you can get a good grade on the exam number 4. All right, so now I'm going to stop this video and we're going to cover the next 4 problems on the next videos here. Okay, so it's nice to talk to you guys and make sure you review the videos and understand, how do I solve it, right? Okay, talk to you later. Bye.